We can't hear you. We can't hear you.
Okay. Is it okay now?
No.
Okay. Now you can see my presentation plan. And so far in the presentations, we have talked about different solutions to climate change. And climate change education can be one of the measures to respond to climate change. And UNESCO reiterated the critical role of education in building climate change awareness, adaptation capabilities, and reduction of vulnerabilities to climate-related disasters. And following the UNESCO's calls, many countries have started to integrate climate change education into their curricula according to the climate change education approach. So, according to climate change education approach, courses that teach climate education should be interdisciplinary. And also the courses should integrate appropriate pedagogies and materials. And the learning goals of this course should not cause any misconceptions in students about climate change. And during the courses, hands-on and practical learning opportunities should be provided to the students so that they can see the process better. Also, climate change education should be associated to local and regional contexts. And climate change education should include sustainable use of resources. And there is a debate about how we should teach climate change education. Normally, in many schools, in K-12 schools, this topic is frequently taught in science and geography courses. And even though climate change is integrated in several school subjects in many countries, we see that there is no strong policy document that mandates how climate change should be taught. And as was also mentioned in Dr. Gilmore and Tali's presentations, Turkish Ministry of National Education followed the same route. We had a previous curriculum called Environmental Education Curriculum, which was developed in 2015. This curriculum was updated as Environmental Education and Climate Change Curriculum in 2022. And this curriculum is an elective course for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade middle school students, and it aimed to increase students' understanding of the difficulties caused by climate change and motivate them to take action to mitigate and prevent the problems caused by climate change. And in that research, we aim to analyze the current Turkish environmental education and climate change curriculum in terms of climate change education approach, the 6 elements of this approach that I mentioned. And in terms of methodology, we applied document analysis, which is one of the qualitative data methods. And during this stage, we found the related documents, we checked them for authenticity, we noted down the related parts, the important parts, we analyzed them, and we used the data for commenting. And we had 2 main data collection tools, the previous and the new Turkish curriculum. And we analyzed them through content analysis. Now I would like to go on with the findings. First, I would like to compare the former and the later curriculum. On the left you see the previous and on the right you see the new one. So when we look at the units, the previous unit included 5 topics and there are 38 learning goals. However, in the new curriculum, we have 6 units and 34 learning goals. And as we also see from this table, the initial units in both curricula are same, such as ecological balance, motorcycling, environmental problems. but we have two new units about climate change, which are global climate change and climate change and Turkey. And we also have sustainable development and environmental friendly technologies content. We also analyzed the learning goals of the new curriculum in terms of Bloom's taxonomy. We found that the learning goals were in the cognitive domain or the affective domain. In terms of cognitive domain, we have 25 learning goals, and the 20 learning goals are in the comprehension level, which means that they are lower level. We have one learning goal in analysis stage, and we have 4 learning goals in synthesis stage. So students are asked to produce something in the synthesis stage. In terms of affective domain, we have 9 learning goals, and all of them are in the receiving stage, which is the lowest stage in the affective domain. So in that curriculum, it is aimed to raise students' awareness about climate change, but they don't respond, value, organize, or characterize climate change. So in terms of climate change education approach, first we can talk about interdisciplinary. And as I showed the table, we have some units. We have here some learning goals to show that the curriculum is interdisciplinary. For example, students understand the effects of Turkey's geographical location. This is one of them. And the other one is students discuss the effect of climate change on agriculture, biodiversity, tourism, and economy. Here we see different disciplines. Also, one of the elements of global climate change education approach is the learning goals should not cause misconceptions in students. And in this curriculum, there are many literacies. For example, environmental literacy, water literacy, agricultural literacy, food literacy, and financial literacy about climate change. And one of the other elements is it should be associated with local and regional context. And we have a unit called Climate Change and Turkey. So this shows that it is associated with Turkey's geographical condition. Also, climate change education approach should include sustainable use of resources. And in the curriculum, one of the topics is sustainable development and environmentally friendly technologies. So I hope that this unit will support the sustainable use of resources. And the other 2 elements of this approach is appropriate pedagogies and materials and providing hands-on and practical learning opportunities. So to see, first, we can talk about the learning and teaching process of the new curriculum. In terms of teacher roles, teachers should be guides for students, and students are expected to be active, work collaboratively with each other, communicate, and be leader and productive during this stage. And in terms of learning environment, both in-class and out-of-school environments are suggested in the curriculum. And in terms of pedagogies, 4 main pedagogies are suggested in the curriculum. They are inquiry, argumentation, research, and projects. We also analyzed the learning goals to see how these pedagogies are represented in the learning goals. So in terms of inquiry, we found 4 learning goals. You can see these goals. So for example, one of them is students discuss positive and negative interactions between humans and nature. So there are only 4 here. And in terms of inquiry and argumentation, there is only 1 learning goal. So as Dr. Ibrahim Delen mentioned, this curriculum is very missing in terms of inquiry and argumentation. So this learning goal says students discuss the impact of sustainable use of resources on development based on research data. So here students use research data. This makes it an inquiry process. So the third pedagogy is research. We found only 3 learning goals that lead students to make research. For example, one of them is students conduct research about the natural resources. You can see the others as well. And the fourth pedagogy is projects. We found 4 learning goals that lead students to do projects. For example, in this curriculum, students are asked to design a project related to raising awareness about natural preservation. Or students design a project related to creating awareness about reducing the effect of climate change in Turkey. So to complete, we saw that the Turkish curriculum was designed by taking the climate change education approach into consideration. It includes many elements of this approach. And students are expected to be aware of local and global problems by conducting research and creating different projects. And in Turkey, we can say that there's a local push to support project-based learning. And we have some courses such as technology and design, information technology and software courses, in which students conduct projects. And the new climate change curriculum also supported this trend. However, how appropriate pedagogies are represented in the learning goals raised some concerns. Students were given opportunities to inquire, but using data to support inquiry and argumentation was very missing in the curriculum. Also, inquiry-related examples can be frequently found in other curriculums, such as Stanford Middle School climate change curriculum, but in Turkish example, it was very missing. So how we should teach climate change? Generally, climate change is presented as a context in Turkey. For example, we found many studies about building a nuclear power plant in Turkey, in Akli, you remember it, rather than a discrete topic. And in Turkey, the new curriculum offers a separate curriculum for each course. However, this course is elective, which makes it problematic. And approaches to climate change in the curriculum differ substantially across different countries. And if teachers don't know when and how to integrate climate change into their courses, efforts may fail. So in Turkey, we have a curriculum, but in our local context, we couldn't find any teachers who applied this program this year. Although it is a new curriculum, no teachers. So the efforts failed actually. But as far as we have learned, starting from September, the ministry will designate teachers to teach this course. So we hope that this curriculum will be implemented and we will see the positive outcomes in the future. So thank you for listening. Do you have any questions or comments?
In traditional environmental education or education for sustainability, when we encourage students or pre-service teachers to be active, so it was good enough to advance recycling or to change your behavior in your private sphere of life. But when we get to climate change, the difference is that most big issues are decided and discussed and actually have an impact if they're in the national level or international level. So, question that for you, but also for us, is how do we encourage agency and action which are more specific to climate change education, which means educating our students to be more political, to take stronger part in cross-country political decision-making processes like on energy development. Here in Israel is about exporting our natural gas. Should we export the natural gas or not? It's about, so this is a big difference. So it's a big difference if I take my plastic bottles and put them in the recycle bin, so this is a very simple thing to do, or if I take action in a more broader sense, which is in the big political arena.
It's a hard question. Very hard question. Yeah, we can discuss this. Also, we can discuss if there should be a separate curriculum or climate change topic should be integrated into the present curriculum. So we saw that in that curriculum we have 9 effective learning goals. So these goals may provide students to become more aware of the problems caused by climate change. So I think we can increase the number of learning goals, and also there should be higher level goals such as valuing, responding, organizing, and characterization. So characterization is the is the highest level of goal. So I think the affective learning goals should be increased in the curriculum. Also, teachers can be, I think, role models in terms of this. And in terms of government level, there should be more precautions. First, they should designate teachers to teach these courses. So far, we have no teachers in Turkey to teach them.
Just maybe an answer, I know, but from historical review, what make major changes, I think in this public arena is addressing the industry. This is the most wheeled system that can, if you can convince them that we should put in new products the following things which can mitigate the climate change, then we transform that with the clients, then we transform it to the society. This is becoming more, will be developed gradually, and maybe through that you will have a cross-sectional society that awares more, because we are all consumers. So if we, on the package of what we eat, what we consume, we have those information, awareness will be more. So we'll be more active if there are some problems that encounter. That's
for the teacher, I look to the curriculum. Why we don't build it as problem-based learning? So the teacher just be a coach. You don't need to have a specialty in the topic. So he just letting the student, because I think it's a new subject, and maybe the student will be much more better than us to develop the knowledge and to build it. And the other point, how we can, for me, I'm the supervisor for the Federation of International Medical Students at the university. How we can influence the federations of students, because many of the federations is international and local. How we can influence them for this topic, not just as a class or to be an activity within the universities to distribute the knowledge, government and international. So they will have influence, since many federations belong to the UNESCO, many federations is international, so I think they will have influence on the government and influence in the international level. How we can use that?
In terms of teachers, in Turkey curriculum, I
taught or facilitated. So they are not teacher-centered. So teachers are just students.
So in our case, for instance, Turkey presents a little different case because once we don't have designated teachers who are supposed to teach this, some ideas can get lost. So that's one of the things that we faced in the last decade. For instance, technology and design was a prominent topic, and we had the first curriculum in 2012. With Fatima, we traveled all the schools in our town, and we didn't find any teacher who was aware of the curriculum, although it was in the Minister of Education website for 3 or 4 years. No one was aware of it. Because if you don't say like you have to do this, some teachers will just neglect it. So, like that, having that awareness, like, yes, all the things that you say are right, but when it comes to education, if there is no push, like if there is no real push to implement these ideas, sometimes these great efforts fail really easily. And we saw many instances in our case, and we were just afraid this could become the next one. So that's actually, what we saw in the last decade. Because if you don't have that specific, like if the government does say that you have to do this, like this teacher is supposed to do this, then it's done. But if you don't have that checked, the efforts may fail. In our case, at least, maybe not in Israel, but